A political back and forth in Grand Haven revolves around the future of the Board of Light and Power, which, according to the BLP's website, operates the electric utility in the city. A local group wants to change the structure of the BLP. Another wants things to remain the same. Julie Dunmeyer explains.
The Board of Light and Power Charter Change Coalition seeks to amend the Grand Haven City Charter and make the Board of Light and Power just like any other city department. Right now, the BLP is overseen by a 5-person elected board that does not answer to City Council. Those seeking to amend the charter want to change that, but the town is divided, with others saying this change would be a step in the wrong direction.
Littered across Grand Haven front lawns are signs. Some say vote yes.
It's kind of a David versus Goliath situation where we're just, we're some citizens that are standing up and saying, let's find a way to rationalize what's going on with our utility.
Others vote no.
Well, out of concern for the possibility of losing a very good thing.
The center of the debate is the Board of Light and Power. Those looking to change the city charter want the Board of Light and Power to become a department within the city of Grand Haven. Right now, it's not. And according to those who want the change, it's a point of contention between City Council and the current Board of Light and Power.
Well, if you are a publicly elected board and your responsibility is to set policy, it shouldn't be your staff director setting the policy and getting you to agree with it. You need to be the people that make the decisions.
But a second group has formed saying the current BLP does a good job as is. They fear changes to the way the board is structured could impact service quality.
There's no benefit that's going to derive from this change. It's just going to put the Board of Light and Power under the control of City Council. It's a $38 million business we got going here, and City Council is not the place to handle that kind of a responsibility.
Here's a closer look at what would happen if the Board of Light and Power Charter Amendment passes. Effective January 1st, 2024, all employees with the BLP would switch over to their new city department, and they'd keep their benefits. A new board would be formed, replacing the old elected 5-person board with a 7-person appointed board, and they'd answer to City Council and the city manager. And a member of City Council would sit on that appointed board. There would also be added representation for outlying communities who utilize Grand Haven's BLP. Those in favor of this change say it's a way to cut costs.
With rates, but I don't see the rates going up because you're going to be able to consolidate a bunch of services. For example, there are 2 separate fleets of vehicles that could be consolidated into, one fleet with 1 service garage. We have 2 separate billings that go out. We have, we have a separate HR department for the city and an HR department for the BLP. We have a separate finance director for the BLP and a finance director for the city. We have a whole lot of duplication of services. This is a small town. This isn't like, Consumers Energy that would be merging in it. It would be a way to save money.
Those opposed say the BLP already has low rates compared to others in the area.
When you start with the level of service that we've already got, and you talk about making a change, the only possible direction in which you're going to go is down.
All eyes are on this portion of the election come November 7th.
And it has reached a fever pitch. Letters to the editor, yard signs, as you've probably seen. Right. It's exactly the thing you don't want when it comes to the management of your electric utility.
It is a control issue, I think, on the part of some of the people on the BLP board, and they have spent a huge amount of ratepayer money fighting what we're doing.
Both sides say it's hard to get a read on which side is faring better, saying all they have to go on right now are yard signs. Reporting, Julie Dunmeyer, Fox 17 News.